Hey everyone, it's Hallie here. Today I'll be doing a book review / makeup look for Felixs Ever After by Kaysen Calendar. This book came out this book came out in May of this year and is an Own Voices book, and I enjoyed it so much and I'm so excited to get into this review. Felixs Ever After is about Felix Love, who lives in New York. He is a trans boy. He is 17 years old, I believe. He lives alone with his father in a small New York apartment, and he goes to an art school with his best friend, Ezra Patel. In the book, the main plot point is that someone created a mural of Felix before he transitioned in the school with no one's permission at all, and he is trying to figure out who did it. For most of the book, Felix is convinced that Declan, a rich kid who he has been competing with for a spot at Brown University, has been the one to put up the pictures. But I don't want to spoil that part for anyone that hasn't read the book since it just came out. So I am not going to say whether or not Declan did it or who did it or whatever. This book is about self-discovery and friendships and the highs and lows of being a trans Black kid in New York City, or even just America. Let's talk about the characters. So first we have, obviously, Felix, and he is our main character. It is a first-person point of view book, so we get to see all of Felix's thoughts, his immediate reactions to things that happen in the book, and as well as his personality. Felix is really just like any other kid in New York. He's insecure, he's growing, he's having trouble with romance and relationships and things like that. As main characters go, Felix is really great. I think he's very relatable, and I feel like he'd be even more relatable to people who are Black or people who are trans, and I feel that he was really, really well written. We also see Ezra Patel. Ezra is Felix's best friend, and he also goes to the art school, and he's a fun, outgoing, caring guy. He's, as far as secondary characters go, I love Ezra. He's amazing. He's so cute. The moments he has with Felix are so nice. He's so supportive. And I really think that Kaysen Calendar did a great job writing him. Secondary characters in the book are Marisol. I hate her, as will all of you. If any of you have common sense, you will hate her, which is really annoying because when she was introduced as like the pretty girl, and I love those characters, and then she ends up being very, very transphobic. That is a trigger warning for this book. If you're gonna read it, you need to know there is a lot of transphobia. Not in a way you would expect. There's no dead naming, but it's very interesting to see, while also really heartbreaking. Next, we have Declan. He is probably the third secondary character, I'd say. I'd go Felix, Ezra, and then Declan. He is mentioned quite a bit. He has a lot of scenes with Felix, and it explains his backstory with both Felix and Ezra, and how he came to be a rival of Felix's. We do not see a lot of Leah in the book, but she does become an important character towards the end rather than the beginning. And we see why when we find out what happened really with the mural that was put up in the school of Felix's old pictures. And lastly, we have Felix's father. He is pretty relevant in the books. We see a lot of conversations between him and Felix. Felix's mom left them 2 years before, I believe. And so Felix's father is a single dad, raising Felix on his own and working to support the both of them. Felix's dad is really supportive. He does make quite a few mistakes, but you can tell he's trying and that he supports Felix's endeavors and his identity. This book does have a love triangle, but I don't want to say who it's between as to not spoil anyone, and I think it is a really interesting dynamic to read. Let's talk about some of the conflicts in the books. Of course, we do see Felix trying to find out who set up the mural of him in the school without his permission from his private Instagram, nonetheless. We also see Felix struggling with his art portfolio. He is a painter, mostly, I believe, and he cannot figure out what his portfolio is going to be to send to colleges, hopefully to get into Brown University. That's really fun. I wanted to do that. Oh, that's so cool. I'm done. It's like Felix had lost inspiration, I want to say, because we also see him still struggling with his identity. Despite knowing he's trans, he still feels like there is a part of him that is missing, that he doesn't understand yet. We also see Felix struggling with his relationships in his life. First, we have his father, because even though his father's trying, Felix is understandably frustrated when his father messes up or dead names him on accident. It's nothing malicious, but it is still casual transphobia. We also run into problems with his relationship with his best friend, Ezra. To me, it seemed like Ezra is just such a fast-paced person, you know, and Felix is still struggling to figure out who he is, and it was like, I guess, hard for him to catch up. So we see that between them, but we also see how close they are despite their problems. I really enjoyed Ezra and Felix's scenes together. They're just so like cute and supportive, and Ezra is one of the people in Felix's life that has never been transphobic, and he can always count on. And I know that's not something to praise, obviously, but I did like seeing that constant in the book. We also see his relationship with Declan falter and confuse him. There's different layers to how their relationship develops through the book, and I think it's really cool to see. But again, I don't want to give any spoilers as to what happens in the book, but I really enjoyed seeing the dynamic of two people that liked each other, then hated each other, and then liked each other again. And of course, Felix's last struggle, or biggest struggle I'd probably say, was finding out who put the mural of him up in school. We see him pair up with his friends to try and figure out who did it, and we also see him going to links by himself to figure out who did it without telling even Ezra what he's doing. It is very emotional. The journey we see Felix take is not just happy or fun, it is sad, and there are moments that my heart broke for Felix. And I almost even found myself relating to Ezra more than Felix, just because of how protective he was over Felix. I really did enjoy those moments of Ezra kind of, it wasn't really protecting Felix, but standing up for him. It's really great to see that. As I said last time, I think that every good book review comments on the negatives of the book, but when I say that there are no negatives in this book, I mean it. It is so amazing. It's written so well. The characters are so well developed. The relationships are in depth and complex and interesting. I did not find a single fault with this book. It is a great read, especially for trans youth. And even if I did see something wrong with the book, I would need to stop and ask myself, was this book written for me? If I had a problem with the character development or the relationships or even the writing style, I would need to stop and say, this book wasn't written for me. It was written for trans Black youth. And I think that's something that a lot of book reviewers need to think of before they speak negatively about a book that wasn't meant for them. If you're looking for a fun read with good representation, this is the book for you. It blew me away. All in all, Felixs Ever After is a great, modern, fun, emotional, but lighthearted read. I really loved it, and I think all of you will love it, so definitely go and give Case and Calendar some love and read Felixs Ever After. Alright, so this is the finished look for Felixs Ever After. I did an orange eyeshadow blended out with yellow, and then pink smoked out on the bottom to match all these flowers right here. And then I did a white liner outlined in black to match these flowers right here, as you can see. And then I just did a nice mauve purpley lip, along with some freckles and gold highlighter, because I just feel like Felix has this like gold sunshiny energy. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and I will post a new video next week.